Good morning. We're now called to order. Any items from the public? Yes, ma'am. Please step forward and state your name, please.
Cindy Pickering. Go ahead.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, we came in to pay our taxes earlier this month and realized that I forgot to take off of our assessment the vehicle that we traded in, and was told that we still had to pay for that vehicle even though we didn't own it in July of last year. And it was my fault, I admit it, but with everything being computerized, I don't see where it's a big to-do to have that taken off. I'm saying that my husband served in the service for 20 years and sacrificed and gave of himself for this country, for the freedoms we have to come in here to this council today. And I'm hoping that you will extend us some grace and have that taken off our tax bill. The end.
Thank you. During this comment, we do not, we listen to your concerns, but we do not respond. Okay. I would have suggested that you speak with the assessor, which I assume you probably have.
He told us, when we went in to pay, the lady went back and spoke to the assessor, and he said to come to this meeting. So here we are.
Okay, well, I think it's addressed later on in our agenda.
Okay.
Okay,
So when will we be notified?
Probably today.
Okay.
Yeah.
How will we be notified?
Well, I mean, it's part of our agenda, so when we get to that point, we'll either vote yay or nay on those requests.
So do we stay around for the whole
you can.
Meeting?
You don't have to. You can.
Can I leave our?
There's a number with Penny.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Very good.
Mr. President, she would hear your decision in minutes. It's on the front end. Mr. Hess is right there. Okay. If you care to stay and hear.
So, okay.
It won't be that long. Thank you. Any other items from the public? Morning, sir. State your name, please.
I'm Joseph Price. I'm Cedar Hill Construction, and I'm here to speak on behalf of the manufactured home communities that we have here in Berkeley County on the impact fees. As of this, it stated new lots, but I know what we've went through in the past with Jefferson County over the years and stuff. I think we need the guidelines for our manufactured home communities. If we're not going to be charged the impact fee for removal and replacement, how long do we give? I mean, Jefferson County makes us give them a rent roster that after 6 months of the lot being vacated, then we got to pay an impact fee. I think we need to know what our guidelines are for our communities. We do have a lot of manufactured homes, and we don't have a whole bunch of affordable housing no more. Right. Even mobile homes is becoming, Mr. Whitaker can tell you, it's no longer becoming affordable housing. We still need this affordable housing, and we can't call it affordable housing if we're attaching these impact fees to these parks that have been here for how many years? A lot of these parks have been around here for 60, 70 plus years. So I'm asking, what's our guidelines for parks? I understand if somebody goes out here and buys a 3-acre lot, they're putting a new double wide on it. Yes, impact fee. But as far as the manufactured home communities, if we have 10 evictions in a year and we got to pay for $4,200 or whatever it is, I mean, what's that going to do to our communities? Our low, affordable living communities. We need to know where our guidelines are.
I understand.
So,
see your point. Thank you.
Yep. Yes, sir.
Anybody else? Need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Need a second. Been properly moved and second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. Are there any questions on the purchase log? Hearing none, I realize that we have two internal budget revisions. Gary, if you go over those, please.
You do, sir. So both are from Sheriff Blair. The first one, he's asking for permission to move monies in his 700 account, which is law enforcement. He would like to move $50,000 from materials and supplies into 216, which is maintenance and repair to equipment. And the second one, again, from 700, account 700, which is law enforcement, to move $220 from material and supplies to printing, which is 212. That's all.
Very good. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
We do have a change of status, hiring a new hire recommendation received from Tim Zaya, Director of Community Corrections, for Destiny Boone as a peer recovery coach with an annual salary of $43,135, and that's effective 9/2/25. Hiring recommendation received from Mike Lang, Chief Court Marshal, for Daniel Wright as a Deputy Court Marshal with an annual salary of $40,968, and that's effective 9/2/25. Hiring recommendation received from Tim Zaya, Director of Community Corrections, for Garrett Darling as a case manager with an annual salary of $50,676, and that's effective 9/2/25. Hiring recommendation received from Tim Zaya, Director of Community Corrections, for Candace Lance as a case manager with an annual salary of $50,676, and that's effective 9/22/25. Hiring recommendation received from Chase Weinbrenner, IT manager, for Kendra Germain as a IT specialist 2 with an annual salary of $54,943. That's effective 9/22/25. Change of status received from the Honorable Rob Blair for Kelly Gardner as to move from part-time process server to a full-time process server with a compensation rate to go from $17.83 per hour to $39,017, and that's effective 8/18/25. Change of status received from Mike Lang, Chief Court Marshal, for Jason Owens to go from Transportation Marshal to Deputy Court Marshal with a compensation rate to go from $46,956 to $42,711. That's effective 9/1/25. Change of status received from Mike Lang, Chief Court Marshal, for Cliff Pennington to change from a Deputy Court Marshal of Transportation to Transportation Marshal with a compensation rate to go from $40,968 to $45,150, and that's effective 9/1/25. That'll take care of all the transfers within our personnel. Approval of the minutes. On the July 10th, 2025 meeting, there has been a change made to the June 10th. Vice President Catlett made the motion to accept the resignation of Donna Steiner as executive of the estate of Anne Marie Jeffords. Commissioner Whitaker seconded the motion. The motion carried unanimously. So, need a motion to approve that change.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Everyone has it. Motion is approved. On August 14th, everyone was present, so we can leave those in. And next up, we have the canceled check request from the county clerk's office. Anybody have any questions or concerns with that? Let me get caught up here. Okay, next up is the assessor. Good morning, Larry.
Good morning, everybody. Got a mix of stuff here today, but first thing I have is taxpayer error. I have 3 of them. 2 of them, they did not mark off their vehicles, and the other one, they had a leased vehicle, but they reported it. So I have those 3, totals up to $1,071.44.
Okay. You've heard a request from the assessor for the 3 personal tax exonerations due to taxpayer error totaling $1,071.44. What's your pleasure?
Have you discussed this situation with these folks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me mention something.
But they would be included in this particular.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
If you remember, we used to give everybody one-time chance. Let's say they forgot to mark their vehicle off, okay? If they hadn't done that before, we always gave them a one chance time, okay? We keep track of that. And I don't think any of you guys were up here when the commission sent out a letter that said, we will not approve any taxpayer errors at all. And since then, if we get a taxpayer error, we report it to you. We don't give them that one-time exempt. I think we probably ought to go back with that. I don't, I've always thought that since that was changed, but there's a lot of people that just forget to do that, or they don't realize, especially like older people, they think, forget, and to pay double taxes or pay for a car that they traded in, they don't have it, I think it's kind of unfair, but that's not my call, but, I think you guys.
Larry, could you provide us with that letter? Because I'm not familiar with that.
I have it.
If you
I think
would,
I
I'd
have it.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to tell you something. I mean, I think that everybody sitting up here has struggled with that. When somebody just makes a very simple mistake, they can justify their actions.
Absolutely.
And then we take action. So
Let me say this in regards to that. I mean, I agree we should give them a chance. Okay?
Yeah.
But also, it has been easier in the last year now that you get credit on your state income tax for that personal property payment.
Absolutely.
So that has lessened the burden on the people. But I would agree if we should give them a chance.
Motion to table?
I would like to table that until at least we get, I've never seen that letter.
I'll
Okay,
get it to you.
and quite
I'm
honestly,
sure I have it.
I always thought that came from you.
No.
To be
Well, see,
honest.
this is what happens. I can't make a decision to correct a bill. You guys have to do that. I can't do that. But I'm in a position to have to determine whether this is a taxpayer error or not. So it kind of makes it look like I'm making this decision. And the assessor doesn't make this decision. It comes from you guys. So,
I think it works better that way for you, that Larry gets the burden. I'm joking,
Well, I do
Larry.
too. Yeah.
I'm joking, Larry.
No, so I would entertain that we table this until because this is not the first situation. It's not every week, but every couple of weeks. And everybody up here is, truthfully, they want to be fair.
yeah.
Because people do have legitimate excuses. And I think that when they can prove to you that, look, this is what happened, then I have sympathy for that, so.
Especially if you don't own the vehicle anymore and you're forced to pay the tax even though you've not had the vehicle. Yes. But
Let me say, so if we make the policy back to give them a chance, but then you would have the option to make that, or would still come to us to approve it, what you're saying.
Yeah, sure.
But then we would have to separate if somebody was not their first time, right? So then this paper would have to be separated to first timers, non-first timers, right?
Larry, I would assume that you track the first-time folks. And if
Yeah,
it's their first
I
time,
would
you
do
would
that.
approve it, move on.
I would approve it.
Okay.
So
Put it in their
So it
file.
wouldn't make it to this paper if they were first time.
You could approve it, that's what.
It would
that's
come
the
as
point
an
I'm-
exoneration.
Okay.
For you guys, yeah.
So it wouldn't even have to come before us, you could go ahead and approve it, if that's our policies for you to do that.
Yep. And I keep track of it, put it in their file, so
Right.
we'd be able to do that.
There you go, that's
Okay.
fair.
Because I was going to say, if you got two people on here that already had a warning and then one that didn't, we have to divide the sheet down. So, yeah. Okay.
But that also applies to the real estate
Oh, yeah.
exonerations as well. I mean, we've had people come here and, plead their case that they did not understand that their property, when they bought it through the tax sale or through the bankruptcy, that It was a Class 3 property at that time. They had no idea. They're not educated on that. And I get it. I understand that. You know, so it would, I think it would help, and also education and notification of folks, it would go a long way, you know. So I have a motion from Mr. Whitaker to table the 3 personal tax exonerations until next Thursday.
Second.
Been properly moved and second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. Thank you.
Good, thank you. I do have personal property exonerations. I have a total of 14 this week to bring to you. And for the reasons that they're listed, all of those, but if you total up all 14 of those, they come up to $5,114.98 for those 14 personal property exoneration.
Okay. As presented by the assessor, need approval for the 14 property tax exoneration, personal property tax for office air.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it.
Good, thank you. For real estate, I have 11 this week. For the reasons that's listed there, most of them are wrong tax class. Total for those 11 real estate exonerations would be $12,074.28 for this one.
Okay, for the 11 real estate office air exonerations as presented. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it.
Okay, thank you. The only other thing I have would be an application for a consolidation for Bonnie Jean Plotner. She has 2 parcels in the Hedgesville district, map 13, parcel 94.25 and 94.3. And she wanted to put them together in order to get one tax bill. So I need your approval for that consolidation.
Okay, motion to approve the property consolidation for parcel 94.25 and 94.3 as presented.
So moved.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. Thank you, Larry. If you want to leave now, that'd be a good time.
You're welcome to stay, but.
Thank you. We have breakfast waiting.
All right. Enjoy your day.
Board commission vacancies, none to be addressed today. Yeah, we can do that. We can actually,
I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Gary Wine, our administrator, to the Martinsburg Berkeley Parks and Rec Board.
I'll second that.
it's been moved and second. Any further discussion? My discussion on that particular item is, as we move forward with Parks and Rec, you know, they've made some requests for the levy. It is our intent to be able to help our Parks and Rec, especially through the impact fees, and truthfully, not having a seat of this body, truthfully, on the board with a voting, in a voting position. You know, right now, I mean, I serve as that liaison. When they go into executive session to discuss their particular issues, I have to exit the room. So we really don't know exactly 100% about what's happening there. So I think it will be to the benefit of the Parks and Rec to have Gary's expertise on that board, and I think it will help them overall.
I agree. I agree 100%.
All right.
That's why I made the motion.
Very good. So it's been moved and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you for your willingness to serve, sir.
Sir.
And we're going to move just a few minutes ahead of schedule. I see Mr. Bradley Wright just walked in, so we can go ahead and have his interview. If you come forward, sir. Good morning. Good morning. Speak your name for the record, please.
Bradley Wright.
All right, and you're here as an applicant to the 911 Advisory Board.
That's correct.
Yeah. So, Bradley, just tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit why you would like to be on that board.
Sure. So was born in Winchester, Virginia, but raised in Berkeley County. Spent most of my life here. Joined South Berkeley Fire Company in 1998 as a 16-year-old kid. Kind of grew up through the ranks of the department, became an EMT, spent thousands of hours running ambulance calls and fire calls with South Berkeley. In early 2000s, I had an opportunity to take a job as a 911 dispatcher in Berkeley County under Mary Cackley at the time. That job transitioned into a job as a deputy sheriff, being around the deputies in the 911 center. I was encouraged to test. Went to the State Police Academy, became a deputy sheriff. That job led me to want to further my education. In 2005, moved to Morgantown, West Virginia, with the plan of just finishing my undergraduate degree and going straight into law school. But life got in the way. Met my wife there, had a couple kids there, worked in law enforcement for another 7.5 years, became a patrol supervisor and a canine handler. Got to do a lot of fun stuff in Morgantown, worked on a street crimes unit, worked with the United States Marshals Task Force. Ultimately, with the kids about 1 and 2 years old, we decided that it was now or never for law school. So I started law school, finished that, moved back here to Martinsburg. While I was in Morgantown, I worked as a 911 dispatcher there as well as a medical examiner, and also ran with Star City Volunteer Fire Company. So tried to stay busy while I was up in Morgantown. Moved back here to the Eastern Panhandle. Ultimately landed outside of Berkeley County as far as my residence is concerned, but my whole life is still in Berkeley County. I own a business here, operate a law firm here in Martinsburg, still volunteer with South Berkeley. I'm the deputy chief there. Of course, family and friends, and basically my life is here in Berkeley County. But when I go home at night, I'm just across the line. So I understand there may be some question, why would I want to do this in Berkeley County? And that's really the reason. My entire existence is here in Berkeley County. My experience in the fire department as a law enforcement officer, running EMS, and also dispatching, I think it would make me a good fit for this board. And also just being the liaison between the Berkeley County Volunteer Fire Association, which I'm a voting member of, I think it would be a good fit.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Boyd.
Well, first, I'd like to compliment you on your tie. I like that. It's very nice.
Thank you, sir. It's not a clip-on.
And your resume is pretty impressive. So I'm just going to tell you thank you for volunteering to serve, and you sound like a perfect candidate.
Thank you.
Commissioner Whitaker.
After a resume like that, I don't think there's any questions I could really ask you that you're going to educate me anymore, but it sounds like you've got a pretty good grasp on what the needs are there. So I always like to thank anybody that's willing to give back to their community, and for that I want to thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Kelly.
Same, resume speaks for itself, and you understand the value of the 911 system in the community, so
Absolutely.
appreciate your willingness to serve. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So I've known you for about forever, so I don't need to dig too far into your past.
I like the bow tie too, by the way.
Does look nice. I don't quite have the courage to do that yet, but I have one. And it would look nice with my pink shirt because it's a pink tie, but I don't have the courage yet. But I'm working on it.
I have a bunch at the office. If you want to stop by, we'll go through how to tie it.
The day he wears bow ties when I retire. So.
Stand by, y'all. But on a serious note, Brad, do you have any thing that you think we need to change? You've operated in different agencies under different organizations, and I know that our 911 center is very active, and there's a lot going on there. So, from a responder's position, pushing that Motorola mic. What would you say we need to be looking at to make it better?
That's a good question. I think when you look at, and just recently, I'll answer that with some recent response times. Over the course of a 4-day period, our fire company was dispatched on 3 structure fires. One was just after midnight, one was just after 9 o'clock the following morning, and then one was 2 shifts later. So our B shift, Berkeley County Fire guys were back on shift with a afternoon house fire on Sunday. I pulled the numbers from those calls, and each one of those calls, from the time the call was dispatched until there was a fire engine on scene, was under 5 minutes, which is outstanding. The turnout time from dispatch to responding, the average time was 59 seconds for guys to have full turnout gear, be on an engine, pulling out the door, marking up. What I would like to see, and I don't have the insight on this right now to know what could be fixed or what could be done better. But what I would like to see is the time from call received to the time call dispatch shorten. Yesterday, there was a fire dispatched at Knopf Insulation with a report of a person on fire. And that call was pending for just under 4 minutes before the tones went off. Our engine was on Taylor Station Road before the call was dispatched from Inwood. That's something I'd like to look at to see where we can improve there. It's a case-by-case basis. 911 center is very busy. They're handling way more calls than they've ever handled. So whether the 911 center needs additional staff for call taking, or whether it's an in-house matter that could be improved upon, I think that would be my number one priority, is just figuring out how we can reduce that time. Some of the other issues that we face in Berkeley County is, for 20, 30, 40 years, we've dispatched calls the same way. And that is, we pick a spot on a map and we send 3 companies. And if one company gets out with a pickup truck for a house fire, the dispatcher will stop dispatching because that company has technically responded to that call. I'd like to look at ways of, and this is not something new, this is something that's been talked about for some time, whether we handle those dispatch incidents differently, whether we're requiring a fire engine spot to be filled by a fire engine, and if it's not, we move to the next fire engine in line. And then also at some point, I suspect with EMS especially, that perhaps the nearest available unit might be a thing in the future too, where if there's a call at a certain location and there's an ambulance closer than the ambulance that is technically due, that ambulance would be dispatched rather than the one that on paper it's in that ambulance's territory. So I think there's overall the 911 system in Berkeley County works really well. I know I had a phone call with a dispatcher just the other day where after a fire incident where I was thanking them for the work that they did on the call because they did an outstanding job. So overall the system is working really well. But with any system, especially in emergency services, there's always room for improvement. So just anxious to sort of get into that position and learn more about the background and the 911 center as it currently works, and just try to improve on that process.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thanks for your applying.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Next up, Asset Strategies, the annual presentation. Good morning. Morning, Daniel.
Morning, how y'all doing? It's hard to follow that.
Please tell me.
So anyway, thanks for having us again. We're always glad to come up to Berkeley County. I enjoy my trip every time up 81, Shenandoah Valley. It's a gorgeous drive. Now it's a racetrack with the trucks, but it's we always enjoy it. So it's great to see you all. And I had worn a bow tie on a few occasions, but the straight tie makes me look skinnier. So I skipped the bow tie. Plus, it saves my white shirt when I spill food on it. What's that?
That regular tie helps a lot.
Yeah, yeah, it sure does. Like I said, we're glad to be here, talk to you all again. It's been our honor and privilege to represent Berkeley County for 5 years now, and I think the results they speak for themselves. And Summer's going to speak about some of those in a few minutes. Some of the bills that have been passed and that really affect the bottom line of Berkeley County. and the services you're able to provide to the citizens here. We have been able to, you all deal with Summer on a daily basis. And she's your main contact with us. And she tells us what to do and where to go and what bills to work and who we need to talk to. We also have Amber Perry here with us today. She works with us. Most of you have probably met her at some point at the office in Charleston or at the legislature when you're at the Capitol. She's a great asset to us as well. My wife works with us now, started about a little over a year ago. And so she's not here today, but she's my far better half. She's with clients in Charleston today. Like I said, we are just glad to be here and to represent this county. And I'm going to hand this over to Summer to let her talk about some of the details on the bills and the legislation. So thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Good.
Amber's going to hand out 2 papers. One is more of in word form about our successes, and then there's a chart that or spreadsheet that I worked on to put it more in just numbers, revenue generated or dollars saved. Some people learn better with words, and some people learn better just by looking at pure numbers. So I might reference both of those as we go through it, or maybe I'll just read through and you can kind of look at the chart as you go. As Daniel said, we have a team of 4 people that work at Access Strategies and work on your all's behalf now. I think when we started a couple years ago, it was just Daniel and I, but we're slowly growing our team, and we have 4 lobbyists at the Capitol, 60 days during the session, during every legislative interim sessions, and really around the year. If there's anything that comes up, if there's special sessions or, agency meetings or whatever you all need from us, we really work around the year, not just those 60 days during the legislative session. And recently, and most of our work has been at the state level, obviously. Recently, I've been helping coordinate some meetings with Commissioner Harding, Commissioner Gokenauer, and some of our congressional delegation to figure out the ins and outs of what is referred to by some people as the rain tax. I really don't know what the actual term is because everyone's, made it out to be the rain tax now. But we're learning a lot about that from the congressional delegation, and I hope, over time we can learn more and why that exists and what can be done to maybe release the burden on the citizens. So each year we present before this commission an outline of legislative successes from the most recent legislative session, and then we always offer updates on each of the past legislative accomplishments, because I think it's important to always be looking at what we accomplished 4 or 5 years ago, because a lot of times those bills weren't just one-time money. They literally every single year are still generating or saving, whatever the situation is, money for this county. So I'm just going to run through. I'll try to be as brief as possible for those from past sessions, and then maybe we can talk more in detail about this most recent session in 2025. So in 2021, we worked on the taxing of Airbnbs and VRBOs and those other marketplace facilitators. At this point, after, is it 4 years of generating money now? Yes. Sorry, I'm going to get my chart out so I can also look at that. So after 4 years of generating revenue, we're estimating, unfortunately, we don't have an exact number because the tax department doesn't separate those numbers. So it's always, at least for right now, going to be an estimate. And we're estimating around $200,000 a year for a total of $800,000 thus far. Then the redistribution of tipping fees, that went up over the first 5 years of 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Next year will be the 5th year where it's fully in place, but it will still always continue to grow because it's based on population. So as long as this county continues to grow in population, that number should increase over time. So this past fiscal year, 2025, it generated $115,959.35. And so over the last 4 years, that's generated $247,378.76 for the county. And next year, the estimate is around 140,000. That is the last year of like the increasing percentages. And then from there, it'll always be the same percentage, but obviously with population growth, it will likely still continue to grow a little bit over time. And then the fire fees ballot referendum, we all know that 2 years ago, the voters of this county approved the fire fee on commercial properties. And so last year, that generated over $2 million, 2.387 approximately, and then this year it's 2.4 for a total of $4.8 million thus far. In the 2022 legislative session, we worked on extending a regional jail per diem freeze. That was just a one-time thing for that 1 year, one fiscal year, so it was about $385,000. We worked on the mental hygiene evaluation transportation. Actually, the bill had a lot of different pieces to it, but the one that brings a fiscal impact to the county was the transportations that at the time our sheriff's deputies were doing, and now I believe that the county is working with the court marshals. Okay. So on here, we actually now have solid numbers from the past 3 years, and then total, you can see each one of those listed, but for a total over the last 3 years, it's saved the county $124,526. We had, let's see, 3 other bills that didn't generate revenue, so I'm not going to go back and touch on them. But there was a bill that we worked on to basically saved the county about $2 to $3 million a year for EPTA. Had this bill not been passed, the county likely would have had to subsidize EPTA to the tune of $2 to $3 million a year. So at this point, it's saving the county on a low estimate $6 million a year. And then the infrastructure funding mechanisms that were passed, those brought those 3 water projects to the county. That hasn't changed since then. In the 2023 legislative session, sorry, I turned my page too soon. Oh, the regional jail per diem formula that was put into place. In the first year, it saved the county roughly $550,000, and then this past fiscal year, it saved the county $351,000 for a total of $901,874. And then there was what Commissioner Hardy always referred to as the speed up bill. Prior to our time working with the commission, there was a bill to return the excise tax on property transfers. The state keeps a portion, has historically kept a portion, and that bill returned all the money to the county, but it was doing it in 10% increments over 10 years. And so in the 2023 legislative session, we worked on a bill that sped that up. So in the first year, instead of 10 and then 20%, it was 30%. This next year it was 65. And then this coming fiscal year, you will be getting 100% of that money. So in fiscal year 24, it was approximately $600,000. And then in fiscal year 25, it was 1.3 million. And we're gonna hopefully, before we present next time, get exact numbers, but that's a rough estimate of how much it's generating for a total of 1.9 million. We're gonna jump to
that figure for this year, starting July 1st, it'll be $2.5 to $3 million is what it averages out a year.
Yeah. Because you're gonna get 100% of that money that the state was keeping.
This July 1st.
Yeah. In the 2024 legislative session, as everyone is probably aware of in this room, you all are now able to impose, and you have impact fees. And so in this first fiscal year, you're estimating, right? It's an estimate of $7.5 million that will generate. All right, so we're going to go to the 2025 legislative session, and we can talk more in detail about any of these things if you want. I'll briefly mention we were able to get one-time funding allocated for the Martinsburg-Berkeley County Library construction project, and that's via the Library Commission's budget. It was originally $1.5 million. It was reduced by the governor to $1 million. Still a pretty significant win for our county. And then we received or will receive a one-time funding allocation for the Shenandoah Battlefields Foundation via the Department of Tourism, and that is $1 million. I know Steve was instrumental.
Is that how much was it actually appropriated in that?
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
We were hoping to get 500,000, but it's double that, didn't it?
Yeah. And then a bill that I worked closely with Sheriff Blair and Dean Olek, who's the Berkeley County Schools Director of School Safety. We were working to ensure this was drafted properly and then obviously making it across the finish line. But this bill created a designation for school safety officers. We all have probably heard of school resource officers, but this adds a new certification and designation for what is considered a school safety officers, and it allows local county school boards, charter schools, private schools, whatever the situation is, to hire school safety officers. They have to be obviously vetted and have the right certifications to carry on campus and those sorts of things. But it does allow our local county school board can hire these school safety officers. You know, a private school, Faith Christian Academy, could hire a school safety officer, whereas previously they weren't actually allowed to do that. So obviously no fiscal impact to the county, but I think we can all agree that there's really not a price tag that we can put on making sure the students in our county are safe while they're at school. Now I'm going to talk about a bill that was not a priority of this county, but I think this is a really good example of why having a lobbyist and a team of lobbyists on the ground at the Capitol every single day during the legislative session is so vital, because a bill like this that gets introduced and actually didn't even pertain to data centers when it was first introduced. It was for microgrids. It's House Bill 2014 for anyone who's listening and wants to look it up. This really was where we went from working on the offense to like get bills passed that you all had put on your list of priorities to playing defense and working to protect the interests of this county and really all counties. So when the House first passed this bill, counties were set to receive $0 from property tax increases that came from data center developments. Any new tax revenue would have gone fully to the state. So we worked extremely hard with the Senate to get the bill to a place that allowed counties to keep 40% of that increased property tax, and then 5% of that increase would be distributed to all counties per capita. And I'm really just talking about the increase to the property value. So keeping that in mind is important for the entire discussion. But the final form of the bill, after it was sent back to the House and they amended it further, changed it to counties retaining 30% when a site is in their county, and then 10% being distributed to all counties per capita. And an important note is that when I say 30%, that doesn't mean 30% of what the county would have collected without this bill, because prior to this bill, a county would have kept about 40%, and then the rest would go to the school system. Ultimately, this bill allows the county to keep about 75% of the revenue that you would have kept had there been no bill. And then on top of that, there's 10% that is distributed to all counties per capita. And I think ultimately that could prove to be very beneficial for Berkeley County, who, you know, we have the second greatest population in the state. So if Mason County or Putnam County or pick any county across the state gets a very large data center microgrid property, you're ultimately going to see money from that also. as I said, this is an example of where we went from working always on the offense to playing defense to protect the county. And really, I believe without our intervention and you, a couple of you, when I said you need to get to Charleston, you need to come, we need to make sure that, like, I think your presence here is going to help. I think, was it a couple of you drove down
The next day.
yeah, the next day and joined me in meetings. And it was a battle. It really was a battle to protect the county's interests. But I think counties across the state would have lost out on millions and millions. And I don't think I'm over dramatizing that without our work on that bill. That is where I'll leave it. Obviously, we can discuss things further. Sorry, just want to say one more thing. I turned my page and realized there was one more note. So in total, if you look at the revenue chart that I created, in total, legislation worked on by Access Strategies on behalf of the Berkeley County Commission has generated or saved approximately $74,672,973. And I think when you look at that in just numbers, the data does not lie. The work that Access Strategies is doing on behalf of this commission proves the competency and the importance of it.
Yeah, just to jump back to your data center bill, I don't think that even most counties still today realize what benefit this will be for them as well. And currently there are several centers working, through the processes, large data centers that will include a microgrid that will share dollars across the entire state as well. But quite honestly, Berkeley County once again led that fight, and it was because of your all's connections, your abilities, and professionalism that got us into the offices that we needed to be in. I could walk those halls all day long. I don't know the players that I need to talk to and who's calling shots here or there, but you all do. And with your contacts that you have, you were able to get us in those meetings to be able to testify before the Senate subcommittee on economic development. And I think that pretty much, I think that meeting, that discussion that day helped turn that tide.
Yep.
And get us kind of a little bit of a standing before it was sent back to the House, where it was modified again. But
yeah, and prior to our involvement, there was no one working on behalf of the counties. No one. And I know why, because it quickly evolved from the microgrid bill that it was, and then they brought in the data center part of it and added it to that bill. And, it caught people off guard, and it passed super quickly through the House. They never even really debated it to my knowledge. And yeah, so prior to us getting involved on that legislation, there was no one fighting on behalf of the counties.
I would tell you that on that Monday morning at the Tundra, the director of the West Virginia Association of Counties was informed by us what was going on. So they were way behind the 8 ball in that information. So I applaud your efforts. The work that was done by the Senate to get us there, and then the support that we had moving into the House, where it kind of spread out, some of the dollars across the state. I don't have a problem with that. To me, it was almost like a coal severance deal where everybody gets a little piece of the pie.
And in saying that, let me say this, based on our population, statewide, as they build these data centers, we're going to get 7% of that money over the years. 7% of millions of dollars could be really huge.
Yeah.
Really huge.
And I wrote a note on here. And our work on this legislation hasn't stopped, because I don't know if you remember, but within the bill, the agency has to establish rules. And so I'd say every day or two, we're getting notifications from agencies of rules that they've submitted, and we're tracking to make sure as soon as those rules are submitted by the agency, that we read through them, we figure out what the situation is, do we like it, do we not, and then go to work either advocating for or against those rules to be, we can, work to get them amended by the rules committee. There's a lot of work that we can do on that front too.
Yeah, I mean, I just know that took a tremendous amount of effort throughout the session, but also we got about as close as we've ever been on the 1% safety bill that we've worked on rigorously. Very, very close, and we still got some more work to do. But, that bill still proves to be very important
Yeah.
to Berkeley County, so we'll continue to work on that. The impact fees, it was, I had tried several years ago to get that one sentence taken out. I wasn't successful, but you were. And that's going to result in millions of dollars as our county continues to grow, and those dollars continue to roll. I mean, every year, those dollars will continue to roll to those 5 different agencies that will be receiving those dollars. And that's a big deal to them to be able to fund the future needs of those separate agencies. So, the jail bill, I'll be quite honest with you, I've read it many times. I still don't totally understand it, but it's working.
It is still working, and we check every year to make sure it's still working.
It works, and it's still saving us. I think last year was $350,000, somewhere in that ballpark. I'm just grateful for it because I don't understand it. But
And that's every single year. That's another battle that we have because the agency doesn't like that formula. Just being blunt, they don't like it, and so every single year we continue to work to keep it like that, or some form of something that makes sure the counties are saving money.
You either keep that or protect it.
Yeah.
That's as I had mentioned, before, the $25 million that was essentially lost in Senator Blair's office, and he turned to you and says, "Find it." I approved it. I thought they had it, and well, no, the water district had never received that money, but through your efforts and your connections, that money is now going towards the South Berkeley water plant and the expansion of storage tanks, and hopefully that some of those dollars would go to get water and sewer to the west side, which was the intent. But it's kind of harder to argue the numbers. People can say whatever they want, and then these numbers they're real. And I saw personally with the $25 million, I was involved in that conversation, and so made it happen. And what people don't understand is the dollars that we've been able to pull back from Charleston are dollars that we don't have to turn to the ratepayers to ask for. And that's the beauty of a lot of these dollars right here, is we don't have to turn to the taxpayers to say, hey, we have to raise your rates because of this. Unfortunately, stuff is expensive, and there are times we do have to raise our rates, but it would be much, much higher if we did not have the expertise in being able to draw these dollars back. So, thank you.
I just want to say that I appreciate the relationship that y'all have with the County Commission Association and working with Melanie and that staff. I really believe this. Just attended the auditors conference for commissioners at Canaan a week or so ago, and the rest of the commissioners around the state aren't in a position to have a lobbyist like we are, but your firm is benefiting every county in West Virginia, not just Berkeley County, and they're starting to realize that, the relationship you have with them. So that, and the association has made the safety bill and the rollback thing the top 2 legislative agendas for next year, this next session.
Yeah, and on the rollback, we got really close with that too.
We did.
It passed the Senate
the
and
Senate
almost passed the
Safety
House.
Bill 25-8. So if we can get the House we're getting closer. So, but the rest of the state is benefiting from our relationship with you.
Well,
And not just Berkeley County.
And Commissioner, they're waiting to see what we do. I mean, almost every county is waiting to see what this commission does with our efforts in Charleston, and then they will get in behind us, and we'll try to make a run on it. But because I asked, what legislative issues are you all working on in your county, and they're like, well, we don't have any. I said, you don't have any concerns? You don't have any, and they're like our friends to the Jefferson. Jefferson, they're getting a little bit more active, I believe. Mm-hmm. But for years they've not presented anything to the legislature to improve Jefferson County. But so typically, what's good for Berkeley will be good for everybody else, and we don't want to hurt anybody. We don't want to hurt another county. So whatever we do, we have to make sure it's good for us, as long as it doesn't hurt other counties.
Yeah, but the data center bill, when you're referencing Jefferson County, they joined on to help our efforts. They came down.
Yes.
I can't remember the commissioner, what county he was from.
Pleasance.
Pleasance County.
Pleasance County.
He's even after session ended, he still was asking me questions about the bill and what is this doing for Pleasance County, and of course I helped him with the math, but sure. Yeah, it's interesting to see when those other commissioners start to take notice and are like, okay, we need help too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I want to say thank you too for one more thing, that before I was in this seat, I worked with some people and made some phone calls, and I know you guys helped indirectly or directly with getting the film tax credits back in West Virginia. And that's really huge. Since I have been in this seat, I've been working closely with the State Film Office and the CVB, and we have now finished some films in Berkeley County, and we have secured some very large films that are getting ready to start filming here in Berkeley County. And I mean, in the tune of $30 million+ films with major actors that are getting ready to come here and spend a lot of money here in this county with hotel rooms, restaurants, antiques, rentals of vehicles, hiring people. That's a big thing. It's indirect money that people don't realize, but it's a lot of money. And I want to thank you guys for helping get that passed. And when it comes due, please keep that in place, because that is something that is going to be big moving into the future.
Do you know what year that?
I think it was like 21 or 22 when they brought it back.
Yeah, no, I remember that. But I just don't know how long it was until it expires. Okay, so we're probably getting close.
And we would
maybe 2
like
years.
to see an infrastructure tax credit in place if possible. That would help, because that's what Georgia did. Georgia's the largest film capital of the United States now, bigger than Hollywood. And how they grew was also getting the infrastructure tax credit for films, so people could build the sound stages and the studios and the rental equipment companies and those type of things, and get them in place so you didn't have to bring in equipment from out of state and go other states to do things. So the credit is great on the film side, the way it's set, but maybe we could talk some with Dave Lavender a little more with the film office, and he could elaborate a little more on some tweaks we could do to make it even better. The last 3 years or 2 years, this year will be a third year, we've been back at the AFMs and out there lobbying filmmakers to come to West Virginia, and to have an angle that's a little better than other states to entice them to come here is a big thing. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, appreciate you guys on that.
I think from the administrative side of what you folks do, and for the public's purpose, you don't understand Charleston and how it works. When you walk through the halls of the Capitol in those 60 days, and your legislators, you have some wonderful legislators down there doing great things. And it's purposeful, right? And when you're there, you'll see a senator, congressman, or delegate that's from here, and they'll shake your hand and say, "Hi, Commissioner." When you're with one of those three, it doesn't matter if they're commissioners from Raleigh, Kanawha, Hancock, it doesn't matter. They'll say, "Hi, Amber, hi, Summer, hi, Daniel," and then you get the invitation to get in this. Let me introduce you to a client from Berkeley County. I have personally witnessed conversations with people all over this great state. that I'm telling you right now, none of the 5 of you would have ever got to had standing in the hall unless you were standing beside one of those 3 folks. So while I do understand that it's an expensive venture, but all of you said earlier, the proof's in the pudding and the math's on the paper. It's worth its weight in gold. I answered the phone call from Summer that said, hey, have you seen House Bill 2014? No, ma'am, what are you talking about? And the next morning, there were 3 of us in a vehicle that headed to Charleston with others following in other vehicles that spent the week there. And without the help of that firm, I'm not so sure that every county in the state, to include school boards, would have lost a whole lot of money. The simple math to this county for the project at hand would have been about an $8 million loss annually. You still lost a bunch of money, but just as the person that's responsible for help and facilitate things that you ask to be done from the bench, they're a great resource. And I got to tell you, offense, defense, or whatever, they're the quarterback in Charleston. When you go to Charleston and it's the session, that's it. They know when you walk down the Senate Hall or you walk down the delegate side of the place, it is absolutely amazing where we walked into an office and got served, they were cooking on the outside and we got to eat with the particular delegate. So it was awesome. So from my position, when they say, hey, what's going on in Charleston about this? And it's a 1 call away to the 3 folks that say, I don't know, let me find out, I'll get right back to you. And then I'm responding to one of you 5. It's an amazing relationship. So thank you from my seat.
Yeah, and when they say you need to be in Charleston, you need to be in Charleston.
That's right.
Yeah, I don't call and say, you should drive here tomorrow morning too often. But
Okay, well, you have anything else, or are you good?
no, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're gonna take a break. We'll be back in a little bit, probably about Yes. We're back in session. Let's go ahead and do that. Board meeting reports.
All right. I had a Main Street meeting this week. Things seem to be running pretty smooth there. They had a good back-to-school event. Went well. That was Saturday morning. They also did a cleanup day on July 27th, which I thought was a really good thing. They said they had a good turnout, about 25-plus people. And they
What did they clean up?
They cleaned up like between on Queen from King to Race, Spring Street King to Race, College King to Race, and from King to John. They went around and they said they got about 25 or so trash bags of trash, picking up cigarette butts and all the little stuff, and just cleaning the downtown area, which I thought was pretty cool. And they have the Economic Vitality survey is out. It's on Facebook, and it's pinned at the top of their Facebook page. So if anybody wants to go and do a survey on what they think would like to see moving forward with Main Street and downtown and different things like that, Economic Vitality survey, that's there for the public to go and participate in if they'd like to. They had a ribbon cutting yesterday at the Seeds Juice Bar, which is right here on the corner of, I believe, is it College and King? Yeah, College and King. Right there by the library, a couple doors up from the library. And the Fall Food Festival is coming up October the 4th. And they were talking a little bit about Christmas on Main, but that was about the gist of the meeting.
Very good.
Yep.
Thank you. Commissioner Whitaker.
Yes, sir. I had an airport authority meeting I had to attend by Zoom. Just a couple updates that there's a lease that was signed in agreement with Columbia Aircraft. They're going to start performing them. It's going to take them a few months to get everything situated into the new hangar, which is for the airport. There was a little incident that happened out there that they got taken care of. I won't get into much detail, but it was partially the people that cleaned the grease traps, but anyway, it got taken care of and gone. Then the land lease or the purchase of the property to the south side of the airport of Novak for that company still in the works. Moving a little slow, but it's still progressing.
Thank you. Mr. Kettler.
First thing I want to say, Gary and I were talking about this morning, yay to the jail bill for July. What a great start for this year. Last year's bill was about 50,000 something more than this July of this year. So that the way we ended the last fiscal year, we're starting out like that this year, thank goodness, and not like last year. So that was great to see that. Monday, I had a school safety meeting. They held it over to Sheriff's Office, matter of fact. I just want to say this. I want to commend the Board of Education for their efforts to keep our students safe in Berkeley County, and for being prepared if we unfortunately ever have an incident here. I think for what they're doing every effort they can make to, and the newest implementation is this Raptor program that started this week in the school system. And the teachers all have one, and if they have a problem, they click it 3 times, and then some administration will be there in a matter of minutes or seconds. If it is a real incident where somebody is seen with a gun or something on campus, they click it 7 times, and this thing goes out to everybody across the whole county to respond. And again, another huge step in trying to protect our kids. And I just commend them for their efforts. As far as school resource officers, we do have a situation where one of them who works for us has been in the National Guard sent to D.C., and that's unfortunate. They're SSOs. They have every middle school covered now, and they're in the process of getting 3 for intermediate schools. There's 6 intermediate schools, the same as has 6 middle schools, and so eventually they hope to get 6, but they're going to try to have 3 and each be responsible for 2 schools. But they're working really hard, and they deserve a lot of credit for what they're doing. They've got 3 or 4 staff members that work on this every day of the school year. And, on Tuesday, I had a sewer district meeting. We did have some private citizens there from the Union Gap subdivision begging for help. It's been a real problem for those folks for a long time. It was one of those communities that was built, and the contractor promised this and that, and they're not on, they don't have public water or sewer, but they're on a makeshift sewer treatment facility that was built that is no longer working properly and hasn't for a long time. And you know, in our district right now, I asked specifically how many of those subdivisions are we currently, our public sewer district is taken care of that aren't on public sewerage, and we have 8 of those right now. And I asked, well, is the strain and stress of that overwhelming? And Curtis said no, they're handling it pretty well. And what they do in that situation, anybody in Berkeley County who doesn't have public water, but they have public sewer, there's a fee that they pay. I think it's 62 something a month, and that's what they pay. And so I asked specifically, is that income from that enough to cover the overhead of you all maintaining these subdivisions? And they said that it is. So I hope that we can get the West Virginia DEP to cooperate on this, and we're going to look into the possibility of maybe moving forward and helping this subdivision out. I really feel for those people. They spent over $50,000 in litigation alone with this problem, and it's not their fault. It's not their fault. Also, Tuesday evening, we had a stormwater district meeting as well. We discussed the Route 11 North situation with the flooding problems down there, and there was a study done to help this area, but it needs funding. So yesterday when I was at the airport, I took one to Region 9, and I talked to Rachel about it, and I took one to Matt Mullinex at my MPO meeting yesterday to try to solicit and try to find some money to address the stormwater situation. There's a 110-page plan that was done to try to help fix the problem. It's just going to take money to do it. And there's no reason why we can't get some money from potentially the EPA or the West Virginia DEP as well to help address that situation. And then yesterday we had our MPO meeting. When we have those meetings, Brian Carr is usually always on Zoom from Charleston now, the Department of Transportation down there. But at this particular meeting, there was 2 people, Mike Dodd and Kerry Wagner from the DOH out of Charleston, that actually attended the meeting in person yesterday. So I did corner the Wagner lady, who's a transportation coordinator, and talked to her one-on-one for about 15, 20 minutes after the meeting about our issues and things, and told her that we would be in Charleston on September the 24th to discuss this further with the commissioner. But just, as always, begging for help up here. You know, the fastest growing county in West Virginia needs help with our roads. And so it was good to see somebody there, though, from Charleston actually attending our meeting. And that pleased me to no end. So that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, no, and the Route 11 flooding is not only at Berkeley Station, but it's also on Route 11 just before you get to Ernie Salvage, the old Ernie Salvage, which closed that road for several hours several weeks ago. So there's some issues that need to be addressed there. And I had a Parks and Rec meeting this week, and just a few numbers about the amount of attendance. Had 1,117 day campers during this summer period. Had 2,135 children in gymnastics, 735 swimmers, swim lessons. And in their basketball program, they had 1,786 kids playing basketball, which sounds like, kids are pretty active, and that's a good thing. Rental income is up, and that was basically from splitting the rentals on the pavilions to half days. A lot of times people would have to rent it for the entire day and only use it half of a day. So those rentals are up because of that, and they're now able to start renting the brick house at Poorhouse Farm as part of the rental of the barn as well. Pool parties and concessions are down for the year, and they're currently making plans and solidifying everything for the Oktoberfest, which will be held at Poorhouse. I also met with the boss at the CMC Steel to look at the road, that the entrance going into that, and the plant construction itself. So we traveled back on Scrabble Road to mouth of the Pekin, where the construction there has damaged the highway, and he was wanting some direction on how they go about fixing it. They are going to fix it. I think they're required to fix it. So I made a couple of phone calls to get him the contact that he needs in Burlington to start that process. And also, we looked at where the new proposed entrance will be on Route 11, and discussed the necessity of a traffic signal there. And I told him that we will be working on that as well when we go to
I
Charleston.
mentioned that to the DOH people yesterday in a meeting about that stoplight down there.
Yeah. So that winds my.
Aren't they using the road now, though?
They are, yes.
So they're pretty much off the mouth of Pekin
They
at
are.
this point.
That rear gate is now locked.
Yeah.
But still, there's some damage to the road that needs to be addressed, and they will be addressing that shortly.
Yeah.
Okay, so next up is Chad Weinbrenner, Deputy County Administrator, multi-use room.
Morning.
Morning, sir.
Morning.
So, as your multi-purpose room, as word of it is getting out, and justifiably so, the interest for folks coming in to use that room is really growing. County Commission staff have been fielding a lot of calls from interested parties, and now is the time to sit down and really codify what that room is to be used for. There's a policy in front of you that pretty clearly outlines, I think, what the spirit of what we would like to see the room used for, sort of the guidance that you would provide to folks who are interested in using that room. Outlining that the eligible users, are obviously yourselves and elected officials, not only of this county, but as well as others that may be visiting, any of the boards and commissions that you establish or appoint people to, other government entities, be it municipal, county, state, or federal, and then nonprofits and community organizations that work closely with or values who align with the county commission or the other elected officials within Berkeley County. The prohibited uses that we are proposing for the room would be any groups that would use it for religious activities, political organizations and activities, things like campaign fundraisers, political party meetings, activities that would endorse or oppose certain political parties or events, any type of political petition. Obviously, for-profit commercial activities we would, not want in there, activities that involve illegal or unsafe, and then other ineligible uses like private events, birthday parties, things of that nature. Outlined in the policy, we do within the county have a plethora of meeting space. If we have someone who contacts us that does not have their particular organization may not align with what the multipurpose room is designed for, we would make every attempt to try to get them into one of our alternative meeting spaces if that organization does in fact meet within the values of the county and is an organization that we would traditionally be able to give that space to. We have outlined our reservation procedures, which is very simple. Call the county commission office at least 10 business days ahead. We have outlined the food and refreshments, the technology use, how folks can access that. And then finally, the enforcement, which gives the Berkeley County Commission the right to deny or cancel any reservation for any purpose that you deem necessary, to include emergency business on your behalf.
Very good. Anybody had opportunity to look at that policy and have any questions for Chad?
Pretty thorough, I think it's good. I'm trying to organize a meeting with the commissioners of the 8 counties on this part of the state through the CCA to bring in the counties that aren't active in the CCA. We're going to try to set up an October meeting there in that room. Hopefully they've agreed to come here and said, well, we got Jefferson, Morgan, and Hampshire real close to us. So this will be, and they agree, so we're going to do that and hopefully feed them lunch catered or something and get them here in Martinsburg. So, but yeah, that room's really nice, and to me, the more it gets used, the better. It's just a good. The chamber was in there yesterday, right?
It's really nice.
Yeah. So I mean, I think it gives a good impression on us for.
We've ran
providing
into
the room.
situations here recently where we've had to, the room has been booked when people are calling in to request dates. I mean, there's a lot of interest in the room, and this will really help us make sure that the groups that are aligning with the mission of the room have access to it.
I guess the biggest thing that I would think about is like the evening hours and stuff, and how we secure the building and stuff. If somebody, because a lot of people don't want to meet during the day and do it in the evening. So
Typically, it's not available in the evening unless
Yeah.
one of
Just-
you are on the board or one of your staff members are on that particular board. This building is not designed for occupancy past when normal business hours close, HVAC, security, and so on. So it's just not made that way. But if I may offer for this, those of us who are at the County Commissioners Association or the Auditors Training, excuse me, if you'll remember one of the things, and they say it every time, and it's the undertone of everything they do, is you really shouldn't be acting without a policy. Give this yet again just another effort where you ensure that everybody's treated the same, right? It doesn't really matter what it is, and we have a policy king standing right there. Chad, as you said, it's well written, and some credit to your legal team. Jeff and Anthony reviewed it. So the state gives you guidelines on what you can and can't do in county-owned buildings. Clearly alcohol and stuff like that, but when you take the known and you wrap them up into a formal policy around, it just makes it real easy. When you have to say no, and here's why. It's not no because
I don't like it.
that's exactly right. And they can't take it that way. Here's our policy, and this part of the policy says we can't do it for that. So it's just good business practice.
I agree.
All right, need a motion to adopt.
So move.
Second?
Been properly moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Thank you, Chad.
Thank you.
Next up, Gary Wine. Done building parking discussion.
Thank you, Mr. President. So this is not a new topic. I provided in your read ahead, this actually started in 2012, but I provided your read aheads and policies and procedures from 2013, 2015, and 2018, and this is 2025. We're ending one of your busy seasons in the building, although there are multiple. And I personally have dealt with probably a dozen different times this year, since probably July 15, where people come into your office and ask to speak to you or someone who can speak for you, which is me, where they have great frustrations because they came to your building where they've read in the paper and said, well, didn't you just remodel this so it would be easier access and stuff like that? And I'm like, yes, we did. The county commission allocated about $12.5 million to the redesign of this building, where everything you needed access to was on the first floor. And they're like, well, that's great, but I had to walk a block and a half to get here because the parking lots were full. And they said, we don't understand, there's 10 or 15 people in line, but every parking space in the door and to the side, there's no room for us to park or walk. I spoke to an elderly woman who was crying, that was very upset. It was mad cry, it wasn't sad cry, because she had to walk with her cane from the Judicial Center. She called it the big building on the other side. I said, that's our Judicial Center, ma'am. So I went back and kind of dug through documentation that this body had been presented to before, and I'm personally, this is the first time that I've presented to you to say that you do have a parking problem. You aren't in defiance of ADA. You are compliant. You do have the right amount of ADA spots. The problem is all the other spots that are available. You don't have to be handicapped to be elderly. You don't have to be handicapped to have issues walking, but you have currently one large employee parking lot at the corner of Maple and Stephen that has a gate to where only those of us who work here can get in. It has security cameras and it is well lit. So if employees come early or leave late, it's always lit. You have a parking spot, an old lot. It's never been designated as employee, but I'm proposing that you may at the corner of South and Raleigh. It's just outside the jail where we expanded for the court into the old jail. And then if the commission sees fit and you don't want to designate the spot, the parking lot off of Raleigh and Stephen 100% as customer parking, that's up to you. But I believe that the Raleigh Street parking lot around the water tower, and at a bare minimum, the spots on Stephen Street and Raleigh in that parking lot that both front and back, I believe need to be assigned and designated as customer parking only. Again, I know I'm not the only person that dealt with those phone calls. Kind of hard for me to defend to them that, well, I'm sorry, we're ADA compliant, but the spots are filled with people who work inside the building. It's not my decision, it's yours. The commission has sent 3 different memos to your elected officials, the tenants that you have here, the outside agencies that are here, as well as your department heads and staff that said, if you park here, you should not, and here's where, and if you do, unfortunately, we're going to have to remove your vehicle with a tow truck, and that'll be at your expense. You tell me what to do. It's whatever the commission chooses.
Well, if I remember correctly, the reason for the purchase of all these buildings was for customer service.
To consolidate all of the services in one complex, all around.
So I think that personally, I think that the designated areas you have for customer parking should be customer.
Yeah, I've also had those unfortunate phone calls from people complaining about not being able to get in the building easily because of the parking issue. And of course, tax time's always a busy time, so parking is a premium. I agree that the parking lot on Stephen at the southeast corner of Stephen and Raleigh, up against the curb facing the street, should be reserved for customers, as well as the other parking lot that you had mentioned underneath the water tower.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
So everything else, would be open to the employees. And we do have some employees who are handicapped, and they should and will be able to park in those handicapped spaces without any issues. There's plenty of parking on the lower end of the judicial center there, and we have some neighbors that are parking, but in an effort to be a good neighbor, I'm not interested in messing with that either. So, but the other thing that I would like to add into the mix of the parking, because it is an issue. I said to the other day, as I was getting ready to leave, and I saw a husband and a wife come out and get ready to come down the 4 steps. She had a cane, and he had 2 canes. But it was because they weren't able to park over underneath the water tower because there was no sites available. And to sit there and watch them come down those steps, I felt very poor about that. So I would like to also suggest that we remove the commissioner parking signs, the areas that are reserved for the county commissioners, and just remove those signs and open it up to general parking. I think if everybody else has to make some concessions, it's certainly, we should too. So they'll be open if you want to park there, but if somebody else is there, go to the next spot. So that's just kind of how I see it. Won't hurt any of us to walk just a little bit. So.
And I plan to have them all marked customer parking, the ones. And for clarification, on the Stephen and Raleigh Street, it was my intent, not only those facing Stephen, but those ones behind those facing Stephen, just just parallel to Stephen, both front and back, as customer parking.
I know what you're talking about.
Now, there's an area there, essentially behind the green space, over towards the judicial center that I intended to make employee.
Right. Yeah.
That's on the other side of the jail you're talking about?
That, no, sir, that, yes, absolutely would be employee parking.
Right.
There would also be some employee parking off of Stephen right here.
Where the
towards
L, you got the L
Yeah,
shaped thing
on
there.
the short side of the L, if you will. And you do have employees
So you
that
think you
may
could-
not be handicapped, that would appreciate not having to walk so far, but you can't control that unless you want to strike them with numbers and assign them based on,
If you scroll down, Steve, it's on the next.
Yeah, I understand. But we need more ADA spaces out here because we do have employees that qualify and they need to use it all day long. So we need to add a couple more spaces.
what I was going to do is meet with the architect that helped design the parking.
Yeah.
We'll have to restrike. The thought process is, my initial thought process, along the fence to the homes here, but on the side of the water tower, number one, the ground has to be level, which that is. And we make all of those handicap. You could probably net 7 or 8 right there. And then the rest of that parking lot would just be for customers who weren't handicapped. But we have to be careful how we do that and we don't strike them incorrectly, but we'll do it for sure.
Yeah, so everybody's got a few days to digest this as far as the employees in the building. And effective date, I think, was October 1. Is that-
September?
September 1.
Yeah.
Be aware that if you are illegally parked by our policy, you're going to be towed.
Make sure all the department heads.
This, if the commission, we'll get this printed for you to sign. I don't think I gave it to Penny or them to put, but we'll get you to sign it and I'll get it out tomorrow. Matter of fact, I'll personally meet with the department and elected officials and make sure everybody's on the same page.
Very good. Any other questions for Gary? Need a motion to approve the parking policy.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. Thank you. Let's see, there is no need for executive session. And I need a motion to recess.
We'll make a motion to recess.
We are in recess.